So right now, both franchises are really at a standstill. We have things happening with the Star Wars universe and things that are currently unfolding as we speak with Indiana Jones, specifically with Indy 5, and those box office results coming in at a disastrous rate. That's really much on par with The Flash. It really is like a box office matchup with who's going to lose the most money at this point. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's going on with the Star Wars franchise right now and what's looming that could very well be the worst news in decades involving what Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland is up to with a specific Star Wars project that is going to dismantle George Lucas's philosophy of the universe of Star Wars. Now, we know that this is typical behavior of Kathleen Kennedy. We have seen this time and time again, that she likes to hire these creators that make bold decisions that are not only very controversial, but they are lore-breaking, they are franchise killers, and it's only going to get worse down the road. Now, yes, The Acolyte is still on track to release by 2024. In fact, they are aiming for April of next year, and at this year's D23 event, which by the way takes place in September, they are going to be giving us that official release date window, as well as a teaser trailer to be officially released to the general public. It did actually unveil itself, by the way, at Celebration this past April, but it was only for the attendees, so just keep that in mind. Now, on top of this, what's interesting about all of this is that with Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland doubling down on the Acolyte show due for release in 2024, one major development behind closed doors is that Leslye Headland is going to provide an explanation as to why she wants to turn the Sith into the good guys in her show. Now, this explanation is said to root back to the first Jedi that will also be created by James Mangold for his Star Wars movie. However, in The Acolyte, she will be taking fans back to the world of Ahch-To, as seen in The Last Jedi by Rian Johnson, to showcase that the Sith were good all along and turned evil by the early Jedi in one major truth that will be unveiled by Leslye Headland. Both Kathy and Leslye on their overall agenda with The Acolyte is set to actually create a narrative that the Jedi are naturally badly motivated and hold evil roots to the first Jedi and the first Jedi Order in the Temple. Headland is about to showcase that the Sith are misunderstood and have been all along in George Lucas's Star Wars films, such as the prequels and even in the Legends content that he endorsed with the Old Republic material back, of course, in the early 2000s. Now let me pause here quick, guys, because we know that people like Leslye Headland are very near similar to that of Rian Johnson, and it speaks volumes, and I've put this out there several times. Go ahead and check out Leslye Headland at Star Wars Celebration 2023. It's the most cringeworthy interview that you could actually watch. She has this very odd walkout where she's coming out like a Terminator, where her head is like turning left and right, like it's mechanical. She sits down, she fake cries, she states how Star Wars saved her life, then goes on to never explain how it did, and to top it all off, she says that she's a massive Expanded Universe fan, but doesn't make a series about the Expanded Universe. So, she's a fake fan because even when she was making that show Russian Doll, she could not even name a single Star Wars movie. So what does that tell you, right? She really is a fake fan using The Acolyte to boost or launch her career in Hollywood further. And this is all a Kathleen Kennedy-driven thing, or an agenda, if you will, to get somebody like Leslye Headland on board to divert away from George Lucas. She is literally the female version of Rian Johnson. I cannot even stress this enough. So moving to the next big thing here, alright? Now on top of this, this is planned to also be mainly told through the use of discovered holocrons for The Acolyte, which matches up with earlier reported storyboard illustrations showcasing holocrons stored away in a secret Sith temple underneath the surface of a world in the Outer Rim. Carrie-Anne Moss, the star of the Matrix films, is in this show, and her character is said to play a large role in the groundbreaking controversial explanation to the fans about the true nature of the Jedi and the Sith, and that Leslye Headland also obtained Rian Johnson's blessing on doing something bold and risky with Star Wars and how to do it in order to create shock value. Now, let me stop here again, guys. The fact that she is trying to create shock value by doing these cheap moves, these cheap tactics to get the fans very emotional and riled up, is beyond my belief. I don't know why she's doing something like Rian Johnson, and why in the world Johnson would even give her his blessing on doing something like this. Well, we all know why, because Johnson really wanted to ruin Star Wars down to nothing. And that was what he believed in, by the way. You guys may have forgotten about that famous interview where he's, believing that it's great to have a movie where fans come out of the theater loving and hating it. So I'm sure that Ryan is loving the Indiana Jones 5 experience right now. It's very near similar to that of The Last Jedi. There's a lot of people that hate it, but then there's a group of people that love this movie. And it's very similar to the nature of Episode 8, moving onwards. Now, this is most likely why also both Kennedy and Leslye restricted and never even allowed George Lucas to visit the set, both in studio and on location, as it turns out, for the principal photography of the show and even post-production so far. Reshoots are also scheduled for this November, though they will be very minor. Now, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, by the way, guys, that Kennedy and Leslye literally banished George Lucas from ever visiting the set, ever even getting near the set, because they felt like he would critique their show, that it would really kind of get in the way of their momentum of building something new from the ground up for the High Republic. Now, do take note that this show takes place at the tail end of the High Republic era. And this is why you're going to see all these revelations that are going to literally change how you view the Phantom Menace, the Jedi Order, and the Jedi themselves. That's what worries a lot of fans out there, is how damaging this is really going to be against the prequel trilogy. Now look, the simple solution is this, alright? We can always just discount this series once it comes out, don't even think about it, and just stick to your traditional Star Wars. Just watch the films and treat them as such, as being separate. That's all you really have to do. So in a way, it doesn't really touch anything, but in the general sense, it does, because it just goes to show you how motivated people like Leslye really are to deconstruct Star Wars to the point where it, yes, in a way, kind of takes the spirit of loving this franchise away to an extent. It gets fans very fatigued over what Disney has been allowing Kathleen Kennedy to do, and this is not a joke. Acolyte is and has been the most toxic working environment behind closed doors. It has been a production hell, essentially, very similar to that of Skeleton Crew. That was also production hell. There were a lot of problems arising out of both of these shows that are heavily controlled by Kathleen Kennedy. Now, thankfully, the Ahsoka series had no Kathleen Kennedy involvement, so it's going to be interesting to see if Dave Filoni can really pull things off with the Ahsoka series. And if he can't pull things off with this show, then, that's when you're in trouble over at Lucasfilm. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.